Good evening, everyone. I'm so
Good evening.
excited to get on to yet another fireside chat, but this time it's a second session of Fireside Chat 2.0 of the All Ladies League manufacturing sector. I can proudly say that we as a team have pulled on a very, very successful initiative at that in creating a flagship program out of the Fireside Chat. We came a full circle by completing 12 episodes of the Fireside Chat 1.0, uh, of course, during the Corona times, where we gave plenty of opportunities for women across the world, specifically for people who were in manufacturing to interact with leaders, distinguished leaders in the manufacturing sector, what they have done, and what the mentorships that they can get online. Now we are successfully into the 2.0 series of the Fireside Chat, and we have, I'm so happy to share with you that we have yet another very, very distinguished global leaders here. First of all, my own mentor and my own boss, Neil Condon. Neil, I have no words to thank you, first of all. Of course, we will have a valedictory at the end of the session, but then no words will definitely will be enough to thank you because you have taken your time to share your experiences and your knowledge in this space of diversity and inclusion. And having worked with you in Pfizer, I know how close you are to this particular theme of diversity and inclusion, especially gender diversity, and the kind of things that you have done for us back in Pfizer. No words to thank you. And ladies and gentlemen who are watching this on YouTube, I take great pleasure in introducing Mr. Neil Condon. Neil began his career as a production supervisor at the Pfizer Ringaskiddy Cork, Ireland manufacturing facility in 1987. After 3 years with FMC Corporation in both Cork, Ireland, and Newark, Delaware, he relocated to the Pfizer Groton, Connecticut site in 1988 and worked in several areas before being appointed Director, Organic Synthesis Operations in 1998. Neil was subsequently named Director of Organic Synthesis Operations at the Holland, Michigan facility in 2001. He relocated to the newly acquired Kalamazoo, Michigan site in 2003 and was site leader Kalamazoo from 2005 to 2008. Today, Kalamazoo is known for the vaccines that it is manufacturing, Pfizer vaccines, COVID vaccines. And so Neil was a site leader of that particular site from 2005 to 2008. With the formation of Pfizer's established products business unit in 2010, he was named Vice President. Uh, Neil was named Vice President of Established Products Operations for US, ROW, rest of the world in 2008. He was again appointed Vice President of Established Operations Unit in 2010, and he was named Vice President Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Operations in 2012. From January 2014 to August 2018, he was Vice President of Biopharmaceutical Manufacturing Operations with global responsibility for 45 manufacturing facilities spanning active pharmaceutical ingredients, aseptic, solid oral dose, biotech, and local market operations. This is where we were typically groomed by Neil because India also came under Neil's purview during this period, and we learned a lot from him. Thank you, Neil. In late 2018, Neil joined the Upjohn division of Pfizer and relocated to Hong Kong as Senior Vice President, Upjohn Global Supply. In November 2020, Upjohn merged with Mylan Inc. to form Viatris Inc., where Neil recently completed his assignment following the completion of integrated activities. Neil has a BSc in Chemical Engineering from the Cork University of Technology, and he is a management graduate, a master's in management from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. So Neil is blessed with a son, and he has a beautiful wife, Majala. We had the great honor of interacting with the entire family when we were invited to his home back in, Kalamazoo. And Neil, thank you so much, and I'm sure our listeners and audience are going to have a great learning interaction with you and from your rich thought process. Thank you once again, Neil.
Thank you.
Now I move over to yet another distinguished leader. And the day I met Babu at Wheels India a couple of weeks ago, I realized that this man has a heart passion for doing a lot of things for in the space of gender diversity. And Babu, before going on to introducing you, particularly today, I think you should talk about your dreams. So many women get benefited by this, and they know what is in store for them, because many times they're not aware of what is planned for them, and they lose sight of it. So thank you, Babu, for that. And to introduce Babu, he joined Wheels India Limited as a very, very famous TVS group of companies along the Padi, stretch in Chennai. Joined Wheels India Limited as Vice President HR during July 2020. Currently, Babu heads the human resources function for Wheels India Limited, Pan India. He is a graduate engineer in mechanical and production engineering from Annamala University of 1992 batch. In addition, he holds a Master of Business Administration PG degree in Personnel and Systems Management and Diploma in Labor and Administrative Law. He has overall 30 years of experience in the engineering industries. He has a good blend of work experience in multiple functions such as production, industrial engineering, productivity linked settlements, established functions, center of expert for compensation, training and development, plant HRD, and industrial relations and corporate HR functions. Apart from all of this, Babu has a great passion for DNI, and he has discussed fantastic grand plans with me. And I'm so happy to be, doing a lot of work on those lines with you, Babu. I'm waiting for that day. And before we move on to this conversation with these two great leaders today, and one thing that, I personally invited Babu to lead this conversation with Neil because they share uh, two big common knowledge, common areas basically. One is their passion for manufacturing. Second is their passion for DNI, especially diversity, gender diversity. And thank you. And over to you, Babu. And we will connect soon as soon as you complete your conversation with Neil. Thank you, gentlemen, once again.
Thank you, Rajini, for a good introduction of both mine and Mr. Neil for this. Uh, Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning to Mr. Neil for accepting the invitation of Dr. Rajini and um, the one platform which she could able to connect. Both of us have not met, but still we could able to connect is because of the passion of what she has identified in you and she has identified in me. That was awesome for Dr. Rajni to bring on the common platform. Thanks to Rajni for this wonderful initiative. And today is a hot topic of the diversity. Any management, if you have a nice formula for Newton's third law or Newton's fifth law or sixth law, who has defined a good formula for bringing the diversity percentage on the higher side, is a guru of management. And I feel that any of one initiative, if you do, or the persons who are all is attending today in this platform, if one of the good practice, what you have nailed, what you have done, or what we have shared, if they pick up one thing, and that definitely that one initiative, if they do it in their organization, is definitely I'm sure that it is 1 to the power of nth. Definitely it will give a good result to the organization. And I see that the passion involved in doing this will give the more benefit to the organization. And we can talk about this in our couple of this 1 hour. We can exchange our views, and I request you also to share your storyline in your experience across this global. So before going to this, the topic what Dr. Rajini has selected is a hot topic. Uh, People in manufacturing is one of the area where I must say that it's a culturally we are society or the manufacturing society is dominated with the male population, and it's one of the area where every company is exploring the possibility where you can bring more women into a manufacturing segment, and we can bring or tap the potential of where we have not utilized it. So as I gone through this some of the areas, before going to this, or before I wanted to talk about many things on with Mr. Neil. I would like to share some of the key insights. One thing I read in some of the Google, these are all the Google input. Uh, we talk about employability and employable. So the all the qualified not is an employable candidate. So that's, suppose 100 people are qualified. I understand it is only out of that 30% of the population are got employability. This is the first thing. And the second thing, again, when it comes for a gender diversity in the manufacturing segment, I have seen that 75% of the population or 75% of the male are working in this, and the remaining, the female who opt for working in a manufacturing environment is around 26% gap is there. See, this is another thing where I have also seen that the jobs where the male and the female who works, the challenges what they are feeling or the challenges they have in their normal life is, one is that lack of many attentions in the manufacturing segment. I can talk a few things of an hygiene issue of creating a facility of a restroom. This itself is one of the thought where in many of the manufacturing sectors, I see that there is a possibility for an improvement. There is the second thing, the woman faces the challenges, the work and family challenges. It does not mean that the men are not facing it, but the responsibility among that part is very high, and that's a second thing. And the gender role, the how periodically we see the challenges such that the notion of among the male society or in the society is the woman cannot able to come into the manufacturing. So hence while Dr. Rajini was giving this topic, I was thinking while that the topic is really a heavy topic, and definitely when she has approached you to share your experience, Mr. Nail, I'm sure you will you have a plenty of good examples to share it with us. So kindly share whatever the best practices you have, and then we can able to take it, and whatever the best we can do it for the society we can do. I would like to split this session into three questions to you, and keeping the time in the time factor in mind. One is that I would like to ask you the first question is the global perspective of the woman in manufacturing segment. Here, I would like to you to dwell upon the what kind of an options you have found in the global level, and what are all the constraints and the culture you have, and legally what is that good possibility you can able to share with us. It will be a good thing. Yeah, over to Ms. Neil.
Yeah. Thanks, Babu. Sorry, I lost connection there for just about 20 seconds. I think I got back on in time to hear your question. So first of all, thank you to Rajani and everybody for this invitation. It's delightful to be here and have an opportunity to share some thoughts again with many of my friends in India. It is early in the morning here in the US, but I'm sure you're ready for the weekend there as well. So as Rajani said, I've been in global roles. I've seen this around the world. I've had specific responsibilities in India as well. And I think first of all, just to again emphasize some of the points that Babu made. First of all, I think the good thing today is that globally, the business case and the value of diversity, gender diversity in particular, I think is fairly clear. There's been a lot of papers, of studies. There's data to support that. that this is right, this is the right thing to do, this is the right initiative to have, and one that will benefit every industry. Secondly, I think when you look at the companies I've worked with, again, we've been very global, and certainly there are global challenges as well as local challenges, and certainly in the large corporations that I've been involved in, we have had global systems, global programs, which I think are very effective and very important, but we also have local challenges in terms of local cultures, local laws, in fact, in some cases, which may inhibit or prevent some of our programs from going forward. That said, I think what we've seen is that in our organizations, we've seen the diversity focus over a number of years and have started to benefit. And I think the key.
Sorry, Neil, we have lost you. Support team.
Sorry, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. You have to start at some point to fill the pipeline with diverse talent, and I think what we've seen the benefits of across our organizations is starting to fill the pipeline many years ago, in fact, and making sure that we're attracting and retaining the type of gender diversity that we would need in the organization going forward. Now, I think Babu made an important point, and I think it's one that's relevant to all of us as well. What we see, particularly in engineering, in the engineering ranks, and both of us are engineers. We came into the industry. That is what we wanted to do. We have and you have in India, as I know very well, fantastic engineering schools, fantastic education systems. So you have the feeder to bring people into the organizations. But a lot of people don't want to work in engineering necessarily. They want to work in software, or they want to work in other parts of the business. And I think making our business attractive to both male and female candidates, I think is very important as well. So how have we done that? And I think part of that is the fact that the technologies of today in manufacturing business is not the technologies of yesterday. And can, in many respects, be as exciting and rewarding and leading edge and cutting edge as the very fancy, perhaps, software jobs that people are more interested in. So the opportunities are there to be in that part of the business, even though it's in an engineering field. So with that, we have the talent, we have the pipeline, we have people moving into the engineering parts of the organization. I think at that point, then I think it becomes very important, and maybe we'll get into this in more detail, Babu, to have the right kind of HR processes to give people visibility, and the right leadership to recognize the value of gender diversity, and to get people into the right positions that they can then move forward in the organization and perhaps become the leaders of the future. And I think that then becomes obviously the benefit of the overall program. So those are a few thoughts on some of the global and local challenges, Babu, and maybe we can follow up on some of those in the next part of the discussion.
Okay, here, thanks for good insight. I would like to give one small storyline. Like rightly you said that many of the engineers where they have completed their engineering, then post to their completion of an engineering, be it a mechanical engineer, a woman, a mechanical engineer, they wanted to start their career in what you can say in a software industry, or in an environment such that where they can able to work in office and office related environment. One of the challenge I had was in my previous stint is the women are ready to take up the challenging role, but the leaders have the hesitant to engage them. For an example, I can tell you, a woman wants to work in a manufacturing shop floor, but the leaders have the thinking that um, how the productivity may lose, or the woman may not be able to cope up with the challenges as compared with the men. Your Pfizer experience, please.
Yeah, good question. Look, I think some of this I think is cultural over time. Just by history, by the way, I as it was said in my resume, I started my career in Ireland at a manufacturing facility, again belonging to a large pharmaceutical company. In Ireland, okay, I'm back. so as I was saying, that at that point in Ireland, there was very little gender diversity, both in the supervision, engineers, supervision of the shop floor and so forth, and indeed even on the shop floor. I moved to the US at that point in time, and almost as a bit of a surprise, there was a much larger gender diversity, both in the number of engineers, at a large facility in Groton, Connecticut, and even at the shop floor level, which I'd never seen actually in Ireland. And I think what we were seeing there is just the over time the US had moved from little gender diversity to more gender diversity. Ireland, of course, now over 20 years has moved significantly in that direction. So I think there's a piece here about, as I said earlier, you've got to start, and then over time it will start to develop. So how is that, right? And how do you attract people into those roles? I think again it comes back to in the US, making sure that graduates and the freshers, as you call them in India, I think as you bring them in, that they understand, the position of engineering, the kind of the technology of engineering is as cutting edge as other parts of the business. And I think as we move into sustainability and ESG now, as we go into the future, I think there's a whole new arena that can and should attract young engineers and leaders into the organization, because basically this is about saving the world and getting things done through technology, which I think is very attractive to Gen Xers, millennials, and all the upcoming graduates that are coming through. So I think I think we have to position these roles in the right way to make them attractive, but then also we have to make sure that once people are in, that we are giving them the opportunities for visibility and for promotion and for doing the things that give them satisfaction in their careers. And ultimately, whether it's a software job or an engineering job, I think everybody wants to have a role where they can add value and make a difference. And I would argue that in the physicality of manufacturing, where you're making something and delivering something, I've always said that that's much more attractive than delivering perhaps software, which is less tangible and obviously it can make a difference and has utility in day-to-day life. But I think when you're producing, for example, pharmaceuticals, I think there's a much different feeling about making a difference in the world. If you're working on ESG and sustainability, I think there's a much different feeling about making a difference in the world. I think those are the types of roles and those are the types of opportunities that we should be attracting people into in our manufacturing organization.
Okay, there are some tested methods and tested approach I have seen in the manufacturing industry, wherein the productivity seems to be very high when we are engaging a woman. For an example, in the Indian context, I would like to share with you is where in one or two assembly line where we could able to see that where we have introduced the woman in manufacturing, and what it is normally it will take the same the productivity at 100%, they give their the best they give. And this is one of the proved approach we have seen. That's one part of it. But the other side of it is the attrition looks very very high. For an example, the culture like in India, if you take it, the woman will have a periodical time where the fresh graduates will work for a period of some time, and then the natural way where they will get married, and then the break will be there and things like that. So, do you have any challenge, such challenge in your global when you are handling such kind of a thing, and how do you manage, and what you can able to give us an advice for the young women to continue their profession? So,
Yeah. Look, I think there are obviously some very specific challenges to India, which you've outlined. But look, I think those challenges exist in some and have existed in some shape or form in the US, in Europe, and around the world as well. First of all, you made an interesting point there, and I just want to be careful how I position this. But I think I have found, and you provided a data point. Women in that are working in a manufacturing plant or software or anywhere else for that matter, if they have other obligations outside of work, family, managing family, and so forth, oftentimes that can be seen as a distraction. I absolutely disagree with that. I have seen it differently. It actually provides more focus from my perspective. And when our female colleagues, and I've known many over the years who've had children and worry about their ability to come to work and do a full day's work and manage their family and so forth. They've been, as you said, maybe the most productive because they're very focused, very clear in their priorities, and have the ability and capability to do very well, and then execute accordingly. And the type of work they do, the productivity that they have, the delivery is second to none from my perspective. So I think that's the first point. So we put that to the side. Secondly, in terms of retaining that talent, I think, as you mentioned, India has some very specific cultural challenges. Perhaps when people get married, they tend to move. As I've seen it, through the organizations I've had in India, I think one of the opportunities is that if you do have a large organization, obviously, then you can provide opportunities, perhaps, in a location where they're moving to, and I think that, if people felt, I'm doing well here in this part of the organization, in this part of the country, I have to move here. But look, they have an organization here too, and the company is willing to make that work because they value that talent. Then I think that sends a very strong signal in terms of your interest both in that colleague, in retaining a well-trained at that point, perhaps diverse candidate, and recognize that no matter where they are, they're going to deliver for the company. The other piece of that, and these come down, I think, Babu, to HR policies and so forth as well, is if females need to leave because they get married and have children, I think coming back into the organization later can also be very beneficial to the company. And look, I don't know specifically what it's like in India today, but certainly in the US and Europe today, we're seeing a huge deficit of a labor deficit. Just getting people is very, very difficult in all parts of the business. So we are seeing companies bring back a lot of colleagues, whether they're retired or they left the company or they got married and stopped working, but that talent is still out there and can be brought back and should be brought back, and perhaps that would bring some diversity back into the organization.
That was a great point what you have shared. I also would like to share my personal experience on this. Um, One of the young graduate who has completed from the university, and then I wanted to hire the people. Then we were working for some targets where we wanted to bring some women workforce in the manufacturing. So some of the my apprehensions I wanted to get clarified with those who are working and those who are going to join. So I personally interacted with them. Do you feel unsafe to work in a manufacturing where it's predominantly done by the male society, and do you feel uncomfortable to work? Um, those who have all joined, they have in one voice they have told me that no, I am comfortable in working. So that's a one strong point I have seen. Then the second thing is, when I checked up with them, that will you be able to work in line with the people who are coming, and because they have to come in a shift and they have to work in a manufacturing, so will you be able to come? They said yes, we don't have any problem provided you have a problem. So so legally there are many challenges where we have to give a safeguard for them. It is part of my or the organization part of a responsibility, where we are giving such a responsibility to take the responsibility and give them the safety. But what I have observed with the women team or the gender diversity team is they are ready to work, but it is somewhere where the option also to be explored, that we need to provide a space for them to do it. That's one area where I feel that many of the manufacturing units, they have to work. So coming to you, your experience on this part, Neil. Dr. Rajini was mentioning great about you in your involvement in setting up the plant in Kalamazoo, and you also have greatly contributed for the success of your business. And today, the entire world is looking at the plant to give the medicine for the solution. So that was I think the proud moment when she was telling. I was really feeling a proud to from your side, that definitely it is a great contribution you would have done, and some of the cherishing moment what you have done specific to women and women empowerment in your the Kalamazoo location.
Yeah, and look, I'll speak about Kalamazoo and maybe just a little bit beyond that as well. Look, I think as leaders, first of all, and I think this goes for Kalamazoo as well as India and globally as well. I think first of all, it's important that the leaders, share, I think, our passion, Babu, for diversity, and if you can be a very good technical leader, you may be a very good P&L leader, that you're driving your business. But I think in the 2020s, we also have to be very good leaders of the culture and the business environment that we're creating to ensure that we attract and retain the right talent for our organization and deliver perhaps on a better P&L by doing that. So I think having the right leaders with the right mindset in place is obviously very critical. I think that the second piece, and this comes down to Kalamazoo and indeed the New York and global roles as well, is once, as I've talked a little bit earlier, you're bringing talent into the pipeline in your organization. What I've noticed in some parts of the world, that talent isn't necessarily visible, and I think as a leader, I think the important thing is to make that talent, whether it's male or female, by the way, but in this case we're focused on diversity in the organization, to make sure that talent is visible so it can grow. And what I've seen in many cultures is that talent is not visible. So it does become incumbent on leaders, and we have a bit of background. Okay, very good. It does become incumbent on leaders to make opportunities to make that female talent visible in the organization. And I think a lot of the work that I would have done over a number of years, is making sure that that perhaps those female colleagues have mentors, who are people they can speak to, who can help them develop their skills, who can help them develop their approach. But more importantly, I think as a leader, we have to look at being sponsors and to sponsor that talent, to get it into the right place. And so what is a sponsor? And different than a mentor. I think a mentor, as I said, does all the things in terms of coaching, discussion, skills, direction, and so forth. A sponsor is a much more, it's almost an invisible role from a leader perspective, but you're behind the scenes, making sure that the talent is recognized, and that can be done through the talent assessment process, and that talent is given the opportunity to be seen. And how do we do that? Whether it's giving them more visible assignments, putting them in front of meetings to give presentations, so that the people that you see are now the people that everybody else sees, and there's a much more healthy talent discussion when that happens. I've I think been fortunate to have sponsored many people over my career. I've always made sure that I've had a healthy balance in doing that in terms of male and female. And I've found that one of the reasons, and even up to the last few months here, that talent has been successful is that they've had that sponsorship, they've had that visibility. People know who they are, know what they're capable of rather, and therefore when the opportunities come up, they're available to take it on. Or not, they can make a decision on that and be successful. Specifically, I think Rajani will probably remember a case where a number of years ago we had a very large organization in India. Several plants, I think 20,000 people or so, and what I did see was that there was a significant lack of visibility to that talent, both in India, and this is female talent, both in India and even globally. So what we did was we organized actually to bring a cadre of those people from India to the US to spend some time, a full week, in fact, in Kalamazoo, for a number of reasons. One was to first of all recognize that we had talented female leaders and potential leaders within our India organization. Secondly, to bring them to Kalamazoo so that they had a different view of how our organization managed diversity. They would see people in action that were female leaders within the organization, and thirdly, it was an opportunity to bring this visibility, and not just to Kalamazoo, but in fact several of them also ended up going to our New York office, having the opportunity to meet other leaders. And I think in doing all of those things, it does allow the organization, as I said, the ability to get to know people, to not just one person's opinion, this person can do it or this person can't do it, but everybody gets an understanding of what this person is interested in, what they're capable of, and therefore, as future talent sessions and opportunities for new assignments come up, then they have a much better understanding of the diverse talent available in the organization. That's just one example of how that can be done. Obviously, doing it one time doesn't change everything, but if an organization is really focused on building a diverse team, I think it has to do many things to build this visibility, to give opportunities to people, and to express to the organization that we have strong female talent and we are going to get it to the right place in the organization, which is what that Kalamazoo endeavor was all about. I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry, that was a great experience you have shared. I would like to share one small storyline what I have come across in the recent WhatsApp message, and then I was very curious, and I was tracing towards that WhatsApp message, and then that's how I landed up in getting a friendship with Rajni. One of the initiative I have seen with the team, there are various forums or addressing the addressing to bring the women in manufacturing. One of the things what I have come across was women in welding, women in welding manufacturing. So WW manufacturing. That was an attractive message I could able to see, and then the explanation is women in welding manufacturing. So then I saw that the conferences like the people are exploring the possibility to bring the women into a manufacturing on specific to the topic on welding technology. um, I could able to connect with some of the people who are all working as a project there, where I could able to see that the zeal in bringing a woman into that area of an expertise is really good. And those who are watching in this video, if you can come across with such kind of a good initiative where you can put a seed for thought, uh, then that those things we can pick up, and as a business leaders we can sell those concepts in the industry. uh, the entire initiative of this fireside chat, my if you ask me what you will take away and you can do it for betterment, is one, I can say that we can take a few points from here and then we can cultivate this in our industry. Or the second thing is we can also bring some they create a platform and people can exchange their views and pick up some which one is good for your industry, and then try to implement in your industry. My request to the viewers is, please share maybe whatever we spoke about this. The given time is small, but which can give some platform. The platform you can share your best things or what you dream to implement. You can share that. Probably it could be an useful information for some industry to pick up and do it. With this, I thank Neil for sharing his experience and also his great work in bringing a woman into manufacturing, and where he has uh, many things he has done. Definitely, the time is not enough for us to get as the whole his expertise, because right from 1987 to a journey till 2020, it's a wow, wonderful so many years of an experience. um, it's countless. Definitely he can give many stories to us to share his good knowledge. Now, if I request any of the participants, if you have any questions to Neil, I request you to share the questions to our team. Rajni, Shrista,
Thank you, Neil. Why am I not surprised? I know that both of you have been there, done that, and I have witnessed Neil leading all the initiatives, and the period, the 3 year period that personally that I worked with Neil was the golden period for me in my career, for several things. One is helping us to understand things from a very, very business perspective. As he said, from an organizational perspective, what it means for a business leader. Second is how a DNI can change the perspective of an organization, and how leaders can lead from the front. So, my question to to Neil and Babu, you are a rock star moderator and a session leader. Thank you so much for getting the exact points and very clearly stating. And definitely, as you said, we will work together in the welding space. We are going to get women, welding areas to be womaned, actually, not manned. So we will definitely get going on that. Um, the thing is, my question to Neil is, Neil, now that you've taken a short break and as you're pursuing more opportunities, um, may we request you to mentor some of our women back in India. Is it possible for you to help us to get back on our feet and see what are some of the things more from a mentorship point of view? Is it possible for you to be a mentor for our organization? And as Babu is progressing on his initiative, how much can we work with you? Do you have time, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I think anything is possible, and certainly my passion for this is significant, and I think India in particular has a ways to go, I think, and certainly can do with all the help it can get. I when we formed, as you know, Rajani, a women mentoring organization back in 2015 or 16. I was very enthusiastic and certainly wanted to make change. What I did realize is that it can be difficult to make change in a country and a culture that's very set in its ways, and it takes time. So I felt that my work wasn't done. So I'm certainly happy to continue to help and to steer that one along as I can, within some reasonable time bound. So yeah, certainly happy to do that. Look, I think the other I didn't mention perhaps, in the end, when you have worked for 38 years and you've had, I would say maybe important positions, but I think more importantly, you move from important positions to important initiatives, right? And you're not, it's not you that's the important person, it's the initiative. And when I look back, in the latter 5 or 6 years, when I would have said, was very much focused on those important initiatives, I think that the proof for me is that as I look back now, there are a lot of strong female leaders, and even not leaders, but well down into the organization, that I would have felt I had a hand in making happen. And I think if one person can make a difference in that way, then I think many more people can make a significant difference. So I think enrolling as many people as we can, having as many leaders be convinced of the value as we can is very important. And ultimately, I think that will make a difference. It will skew the numbers in our favor, and ultimately we'll be more successul than just one person like me in one organization, but we'll have many people across many organizations looking at this and trying to make a difference. And I hope there's many more people like Babu out there that are as interested and enthusiastic and passionate about making this happen. And hopefully, his enthusiasm is infectious to the people he interacts with as well.
Sure. Shri, any other questions flowing in, or else I have one more question for Neil and Babu. Any questions up there? Yeah. So, Neil, what are the policy decisions that organizations need to take? Sindhu is asking.
I think that is a great question. And again, I'm not as familiar with the local context there in India as I might be in the US, but I know that in India there are key policy decisions that have to be taken, legal decisions perhaps, and I know this from one of our facilities where we wanted to start having a shift with female membership, and it did take several years, and it did take policy changes and local policy changes, not just in the organization but in the state as well, and now they're able to do that. So as I said, I'm not familiar with all those barriers, but I think those barriers need to be understood, developed, put in place, understood, and changes put in place to to manage those as well. I mean, obviously that's at a much higher level, but if the country and the businesses in the country are really serious about change, then I think there has to be policy changes to match that as well, to allow for female participation in shifts if that's necessary, working hours, the right types of working arrangements, to help, to facilitate people, working in organizations that are, particularly manufacturing, which, as we know, is a bit different than software, right? I don't know if Babu or Rajni want to speak on some of those policy decisions.
So there's one more question from yet another Babu. He's asking, what is your experience? How have you settled or resolved the most sensitive industrial relations, female issues? Any female-related industrial relations issues is what he's asking. Any examples? So he's asking whether we had shift issues back in,
And again, maybe it's the maturity of the US, in terms of diversity, which isn't perfect, by the way, but it has moved along over the years, or Europe. I mean, I don't think the issues have been seen to be as serious or sensitive maybe as you prescribe. But look, I think again, the key aspect, whether it's male, female, organization, is listening to and understanding the issues, and I think and understanding the context of the issue, and looking for ways to resolve, recognizing that by doing so you will retain a talent, retain a colleague, and maybe build some credibility and goodwill as well in the organization by facilitating whatever it is. Now, I don't have any examples that I want to speak to directly, but again, the organization and HR obviously has a role here as well. It needs to be able to facilitate and have good processes and systems, whether it's arbitration systems or whatever you may need in place, to manage those issues. And look, over time, I think those issues don't become unique or one time. They're issues that come up as part of having a diverse workforce, and I think all organizations have to deal with them. And ultimately, I think everybody comes to an agreement as to how things should be handled, because it has to be the same for every part of the industry. And although I guess at the start, you may be doing it for the first time, and you don't want to be the one to set a precedent or do something different. So I think that's, again, a sort of a policy discussion or a discussion amongst the kind of HR leaders, if you like, to understand how to best deal with these issues, not just in a company, but across companies in India.
Okay. So there's one more question. How would you, how to resolve women, Sri, can you put that across? I'm not able to. What is that you're trying to ask? Sri, can you come on?
No, I can read the question what she has put. Some examples on how to resolve a woman facing an issues in manufacturing industry.
Okay.
Maybe I will. I would like to moderate this. It's more of an Indian context, probably. Predominantly, some of the problems the people will face in the manufacturing. See, we should distinguish between the environment what we are talking. One is the office and office related environment, and also in the manufacturing environment. But today, many companies, there is an ICC committee were formed, and This ICC team is strengthened by a team of an woman, and in case of any harassment or in case of any of the key issues the women facing, there is a forum, and the forum will address those issues. This is one thing on the personal side. When it comes for a specifically for a manufacturing industry, uh, or it is meant for a software industry, or it for meant for a office, there is the problems are sometime it is common, and one is that harassment in the different forms. This is through ICC we can address it, but otherwise I don't see we create a platform that everybody is equal. There is no, the HR policies are in such a way that there is no differentiation in the treatment of, if it is a woman, then the facilities what we are doing it anywhere rather less or not equal to men. Sorry, it should be equal. That's all I must say. And probably Neil, if you have any other thought, you can share.
Yeah, look, I think the issues in India again may be a little bit unique locally, but I think as we've seen now globally, those challenges come up in organizations in the US and in Europe as well. I think you've addressed it by having, as you say, and I'm familiar with the ICC approach in India, and I'm also familiar with and recognize that you need to have a common HR process, for everybody. But I think you have to work with those systems, and if again, it may depend on how an organization has built that system, and certainly has to abide by its rulings, and whatever is necessary. And I think again, over time, I think the point here is you have to build credibility that you will address issues and address them properly. And coming back to the US, we've seen very recently in very large organizations where issues around harassment have not been addressed, have not been addressed consistently, and that's where credibility is lost. And once you lose that credibility, I think it's very difficult to regain it again. So I think building credibility by virtue of those decisions and actions that you take is very, very important.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
So there's one more final question. I think, Babu, it's more for you. How would you maintain the right manpower during maternity leave of female employees?
Very critical to answer. Uh, um, yeah, so we need to plan, and I think how the things are happening in the manufacturing organization is predominantly sometimes it is a shared responsibility. If you look at it, the people who are all in the manufacturing segment, the shared responsibility to an extent, we are managing it, but yet it is a critical area where we have to work on it. I don't have a Newton's third law formula here to share exactly. It's a problem is same.
Neil, any thoughts from your side on this particular point? How US would do it?
Well, it is interesting, and maybe I'm more focused on the office side than the shop floor side. Look, I think, by the way, the US policies on maternity are very, very poor from the woman's perspective relative to Europe, by the way, so that problem is certainly not solved in the US, and there's a lot of concern about that. But when people when it is necessary for them to go off and on maternity leave, I think the organization has to figure out how to replace, and because if you don't have that in place, then I think you will find it difficult to continue to attract and retain the talent that you need. So it is that replacement is a cost of doing business, and you have to be convinced that the cost of that business is outweighed the value of the colleagues that are going, out on maternity leave and coming back, whether it's after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, in Europe up to 2 years, in some cases, for example, in Sweden. So I think it's part of the business, and again in the 2020s, with labor shortage, with talent wars, I think across a lot of our business, I think you have to have the policies in place that will make sure that can happen. Because again, I think when those colleagues come back to work, should they choose to do so, I think they still remain well trained, capable, and enthusiastic colleagues, who will add value for many more years beyond that, 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months, or 12 months that they may be out of the business.
Sure. That was a great point, both of you. So we have completed a good 1 hour discussing about various perspectives on the opportunities, the constraints, and the various factors that influence the world of work for women talent in particular. So now, as we close, I would like to have one closing remark from Neil and Babu, and then we'll move on to vote of thanks.
Okay, I can go first. Just to close out, and again, thank you for the opportunity to have the discussion. I think it's always good to have the discussion, and it's important to have the discussion and keep this conversation live. To colleagues out there, I would say, be bold, be visible, and have high expectations of your manager to give you that visibility and opportunity, right? It's that's okay, and I think good managers and good leaders, when they see that, will see that as an opportunity rather than a threat, and I think that's important. Again, thank you, Rajani, and thank you, Babu, for the discussion.
My pleasure, Neil. My pleasure. Yes, Babu.
Yeah, from my side, definitely the one point I wanted to appreciate you, Rajni, here. The thought of creating this fireside chat, and the thought of bringing people into a common platform, and make the message to the people. And you are trying to work. I don't know how many people are connected, but the power of your mind is really good, and I must appreciate that the small drops you are making for betterment of the improvement is really appreciated from my side. Keep the good work, continue, and bless you with all the strength in you to continue this. That's my point in this. And probably the people who are behind you, I wanted to wish them and wish you all the very best.
Yes, we are a team. And Srishita, Shri, Sparsha, Niveda, all of them are behind the scenes helping us out to roll out all these programs. And I should definitely, vote of thanks is very formal, but I should thank the Almighty, because for having worked with Neil for a good 2.5, 3 years, my entire perspective of working has changed, and he has mentored me in the right way, given so many opportunities to look within and get the best. If I get another opportunity, Neil, I'll grab that once again. It's a message. And Babu, first of all, the kind of concept that you have, getting women welders, was something that I was very attracted, and I'm sure we are going to rock.
No, it's not mine. Well. Somebody has started. It's not mine. Somebody has started.
You're trying to build that, and we'll create something. And thank you, gentlemen, for a very, very active conversation. And thank you for the commitment, the passion, and also the accountability that you have taken on yourself to get the women on board and tell them, we are here. Just wake up and you go girl kind of a message, which is very important for many of us here. Because many times, we move faster, we move with great speed, and suddenly a small bolster there, stops us, and then we retract. So these messages, this is a great motivation for us. And both of you, thank you so much. And Neil, I know you are on a personal visit out of your home, and you made time for that. Thank you so much, Neil. And as always, we love you for that. And a lot of your Pfizer women are actually listening to this conversation. They've taken the link from me and they said, okay, we can't miss Neil's conversation because they know you. They are here listening to you. Okay. And maybe you want to say hello to everyone. On a YouTube
Indeed.
platform, they can't interact with you directly.
That's right. Hello, everybody, and glad you could tune in. And remember, I'm out there on LinkedIn if anybody wants to connect. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Babu.
Right.
Thank you once again, and thank you, Neil. Thank you, Shri, for getting this whole technology space neatly done. Thank you.
Very good. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thanks
Bye,
to your
Neil. Have a
backroom
great
support.
day. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.